So this is Smart Notebook. This is our desktop software. And so obviously you need some type of, Windows or Mac. What do you guys have? What do teachers have for devices?
Windows.
Yeah, Windows.
Windows. Okay, so this you could download, and I'm sure Kim told you about the 45-day free trial of the download.
Correct.
Okay, great. So once you get the 45-day free trial, you would have this whole program here to use. And I just want to clarify, I'm sticking to math tools, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you kind of have different toolbars. You've got a toolbar up top here, if you can see my mouse going back and forth, and then you've got some tools on the left-hand side as well. So just very simply, you could throw in a new page if you need to. You can delete pages. These aren't specifically math, but you've got a screen shade, kind of some things like that, that are some of your basic tools. You can put a table in if you want to. Here are some of the math tools. We actually have measurement tools as well. So, if you want to put a ruler in, you could use the ruler. You've got, your protractor, all of that good stuff that you can measure, move around, and use inside of Smart Notebook. So if there is any time during, and I don't know if you guys have this on your computers yet, but if you don't, or if you do now and you're kind of following along, if there's any time I'm talking about something in these toolbars that you don't have, you can always add tools and customize your toolbar over here on the right. So I can click on Customize Toolbar, and then you'll see all the tools that you could put in your toolbar if you wanted. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll kind of start where Kim left off then, it sounds. So what she was doing is she was creating some shapes and using some of our shape tools. So over here we've got all, we have like, I think there's maybe 10 or 8 different pens that we have, all the different types of pens. We've got shapes, we've got text. But what Kim was doing is she was using some of our shapes. So for example, I know you mentioned the rectangle. So you can use the shape tool to create a rectangle. And then you can click on it, and there's this arrow here on the side where you're able to kind of have some options here dependent on your shape. So for example, you could very simply just put some vertices on there. You could put some side links on there if you wanted to. That one up top is getting cut off. There we go. Or what she was doing is you could divide your shape too. And so dividing the shape, you've got some options in terms of how many sides you would want to divide it into, not sides, I guess pieces, but maybe I'll divide this into 4, and then you can see now my shape is divided into fourths, and I can actually pull my shape apart as well too. So I can click on these and pull them apart. I could make these different colors by selecting them, and then again using these tools up here where it says fill. So I could fill this one and it could be blue. Okay, that one could be blue, etc. So do you guys remember that when she was there with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other shape that I like to show off, I guess, is the circle here. And I actually accidentally made 2 circles, so we'll delete that one. But circle, kind of same thing. A circle is a really good one to show this off with, right? Students, they always struggle with fractions. So a circle is a good one, if you want to show equivalent fractions, same kind of thing. I could have my pieces of my pizza or my pieces of my pie, whatever my example is, and same kind of deal. I can pull those apart so you can see the differing pieces. The other thing is you don't have to have those little fractions showing. So if you noticed in here when I made a circle and I divided it up into different shapes, I do have the option I can unclick show fractions. So then I could actually have students figure out, okay, what piece of that pie, what's the fraction on that piece of that pie? The other shape that has some cool tools is also our right triangle. So you can put a triangle in here, same idea, you right click. And with this one, it's kind of cool. Is it all grade levels of math, or kind of what's your focus in terms of math teachers for this program?
Mine's 6th grade.
Yeah, middle and high school.
Middle and high school. Okay, so you might have some trigonometry in there, but same thing. I could put my vertices, my interior angles, and I could put my side links on here. And then the cool thing is that when I start to move my triangle around, my angles and side links obviously correspond with it. The only caveat I say is this is not 5.9 inches or centimeters. It's just a comparative unit. So I've seen some people take out the ruler and try and have like a student come up and measure it. Well, it's not, you know, this ruler isn't inches or centimeters either. Or they'll actually bring like a ruler up to the board and try and do it. So just obviously clarify to students that it's a unit of measurement there. Questions on that at all?
Nope, I think that's good.
Okay, cool. There is another tool, actually a couple other tools. So another tool here is under this, it looks like a puzzle piece, and it's called add-ons. And I have that up here in my top toolbar, and I also have it over here on the left-hand side. If I click on that, there's these two equation tools where it says insert equation and write equation. So insert equation is where you're more going to be typing your equations. So I used to teach high school math, and typing math is very difficult. So what I used to do is I actually used to use Microsoft Word, the equation editor there, and then type my equations there and copy and paste them over into Smart Notebook. And now we actually have an equation editor built inside of our software. You know, so if I'm talking about here x, and then we'll go, you know, squared plus, plus my 5x, whatever it is, I can type that on my keyboard. Oh, what was that? Always something. I'm gonna retry here. Sorry about that. I swear every demo there's always one thing that ends up going wrong. We'll try it again. I think I have to start with the x. So x squared, we'll just try that. There we go. So then you can see here is my x squared, and I can make that bigger, make it smaller, move it around anywhere on the page that I need to go. But that's kind of a nice feature in terms of having to copy and paste all that math type from software to software. So that was this insert equation one on the top here. Then there also is a write equation. So write equation is exactly what it sounds like. I can actually write my equation in this grid, and it's going to convert it for me. So bear with me here because I'm going to use my mouse. But again, I will, so I'm really sorry if this is ugly here, but I'm going to try x squared again. Just so you can see it, and I'll do a little bit more. X squared plus 3. And then I can hit that plus sign there, and now that's added right into my space as well. So just some options if you want to type or write your math text. Did Kim get a chance to show you that at all?
I think she did, yeah, so
Okay.
that's good.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure it's still a good refresher and I'm not reviewing too much. All right, so another piece, just because of the way I've set up my toolbar, I don't have all my add-ons in this puzzle piece area here like I did when I clicked on it, but I have some other ones over here on the side. If you didn't know, kind of a cool thing is, I know this isn't specifically math, but it could be, you know, I could insert a YouTube video right into my notebook page too. So maybe we are talking about math, and maybe we're talking about today, we're talking about fractions. Or maybe I've recorded my own lesson video. I can search for it. This connects straight to YouTube, and I'll just click on this one about multiplying fractions. And I can add the video right into my lesson. The really nice thing about this is there's no ads. So right when I click on this video, there's not going to be an ad that pops up. I'm going to be able to play the video right on the screen. And then I also can use my pens to, if I wanted to, you know, ink over the top of it and talk about, you know, part of the video, whatever it was. Sorry, that's a really ugly arrow, but hopefully you get the gist of it, that I can still ink and use all those tools that are up here over the top of that YouTube video. So that's an additional add-on. And then the two other add-ons that are very mathy per se, you could say, are these smart blocks. Smart blocks might be, you know, they might still apply in middle school. I would say, yeah, some of them, depending on the type of oh gosh, I'm missing my word, operation that you're looking for, but you can see you've got these different blocks that have different operations. So for example, one thing I like to do is, okay, we're gonna talk about, addition. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some addition with some pictures. So up here, there's a gallery that you can search for different pictures for. So let's say, I'm thinking, well, we'll do a heart since it's almost February here. So I'll search for a heart. Oh no, is it gonna come up? Okay, here's a heart. And I'll pull a heart in here. Okay, so I've got a heart and I'm gonna show you a couple different things. So I insert a picture, I inserted one of our smart blocks, and then something else that's kind of cool is I can make any object what's called an infinite cloner. So that means I can just be grabbing this heart as many times as I want to and clone it. So I'm going to put 2 hearts over there on the right and another 2 hearts here on the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these hearts and I'm going to right click again and I'm going to do what's called grouping them. So I'm going to group them. So instead of 2 separate objects, they're now just 1 object. And then same thing over here, I'm going to group them. And now I can kind of use these blocks, to talk about, okay, I've got my 2. Man, I'm going to try an arrow. Thought that would work better. There we go, my 2, instead of having to draw it, plus my other 2 hearts. Great, equals my 4 hearts. Okay, and I could even continue on, if I wanted to add in and talk about, the next step of, the process here, we're gonna add, but then we're also going to take, our 4 hearts and we're gonna multiply them by another 2 hearts. Students can start to see, a process or steps within a process of, some type of mathematic equation. So there's my 4 times my 2 equals my 8. So kind of just a cool add-on that we offer inside of Smart Notebook. Did she get a chance to show you that at all?
I think she did.
Okay. All right. How about GeoGebra? Did she show you this add-on?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be repetitive by any means.
Right, but we also want this to be seen by some folks that won't have seen anything. So even if you are being a little repetitive, that's okay.
Okay, great. So have you ever used GeoGebra, like the separate website?
Yes, I've seen it before.
Okay, so GeoGebra, it combines geometry tools and algebra tools into this website that you or students can access. And pretty much what we've done is we've taken the GeoGebra widget and now it's embedded right into Smart Notebook. So I can add this widget in here. And once it loads, you're going to see, I've got, my XY axes. So tons and tons of tools up here that are, they're not specific to Smart, they're specific to GeoGebra, the website.
I know Desmos is another one that a lot of our teachers have used. Is there any tie-in with that at all?
No specific widget, unfortunately, that I'm aware of at this point. Okay. But by no means am I saying it's not something that we might add in the future. But we've kind of started with GeoGebra. Okay. But if you know how to work GeoGebra, you might be familiar with some of these tools. Obviously, they're math tools. I believe this is where you can, add your different axes, your polar grid if you want any of that. So really, this tool, I usually hear like, oh yeah, we've heard that, in the middle school, high school level area more. But again, the cool thing is I can use all these inking tools over the top of it. So I'm going to do my best again here writing with my mouse, but I'm just going to write the equation y equals x. And then what I can do is I can drag this over and it'll actually graph my line y equals x. Now I don't have to write it. I could also just type in here, y equals x plus 5. And I could do it that way too. But then I actually have this again, so if I want to talk about, okay, let's look at the different places, our y-intercepts, whatever it is, I can again use my tools to actually circle those. Kind of a cool thing too is I can actually move these, and you notice as I move them, just like in GeoGebra, they move over here. So I pretty much don't have to go to that extended website anymore. It's all built into Notebook for me. Questions on that at all?
I don't think so.
That's good.
Okay. Those are some of the big math tools. Anything else you guys can think of in terms of, there also is, I'm just looking up here, there is a math tab that goes with equations, but I showed you the equations. You could put a table in, which you can do either through that tab, or again, there's this little, guy here that lets you put a table in. So there's my table. I could insert some values. And then I can also, use this, there is a graphing feature. To be honest, I am not as familiar with that feature because I usually go to GeoGebra when I'm graphing, but there is a graphing, an additional graphing feature here. So you can see you could do a number line if you wanted to. I'll just keep doing new pages. Not as interactive as GeoGebra, but you do have these options as well. So those are under math in that top toolbar as well. So you can get your, your different axes, just kind of going through all of them here. So you can see there's also a wizard. So you might be able to, let's see if we do the number line, I believe you're going to have some other settings, where you want to start and end it, how far you want to have your increments, if you want to show your numbers or not. So you do have a couple other settings there in that wizard piece. But any other features you guys can think of that you're really looking for in a software in terms of math tools at all?
I think that's pretty good.
No, I think you covered it.
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to overwhelm you either because I know there are a lot of features here. I know I did show kind of the last thing that popped into my head here is I did show that gallery where I was searching for that heart. There are some other things in here that you can search for too. So you can search for, if you did want to search for just a graph, if you just wanted kind of a static graph paper, I could also pull in an XY axis like this and right over the top of it. If you wanted a dice, that's something else I used to use a lot is I can search for dice and make sure once you type it in, you actually have to click this search button here. But we have interactive widgets. So instead of just going into a picture, you could get some pictures of a die, or you could also click on interactive and multimedia. And this is pretty cool. I actually have an interactive dice that I can kind of play with. So there's some settings here. So, I can have multiple if I wanted to. I could put text in instead of just having the traditional theme dice. Or I could also customize it. So actually, I could actually type in there. I can change the color of my die. So I do have some options here. And let's just say I'm going to stick with my traditional 6-sided die. When I click it, it actually spins and lands on a number. So if there's any, stats or anything like that that your teachers are teaching, I know dice are used a lot in statistics. So we also have another one I can think of very quickly is a spinner. Again, not specifically math, it could be, but I have a spinner here that I could, same kind of thing, click on these settings and I can put text in the segments, or I could just increase my segments, if we're going to talk about fractions. Okay, I could use my spinner to do that, and we'll just say we've got 6 pieces here, and then it actually lands on a side if you use it interactively. So those are some of our interactive widgets that you can search for, and we call it our gallery, but it's a second tab here on the left-hand side. Did Kim show you that?
No, we didn't see that.
Okay. So those have been very popular, specifically just in general from us at Smart. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys have gone through the whole Flash going away concept. If you used any content that had Flash, these were a big thing for us when people used to be on our old version of Notebook and now they're on our new version. Obviously, we had to convert all our content from Flash to HTML5, and widgets is what everyone was freaking out over. They're like, well, all my widgets. So we do have all our widgets converted now, and these were a couple of the popular ones that people loved. So
All right.
awesome.
So, can we switch gears just real quick? And
Yeah.
one of the features we did like on the presentation that Kim did was she had a map she did of like Washington, D.C. And
Sure.
there was a way that the software broke us up into teams. And if you had 30 people in the room, she could choose how many people were in teams. And then we
Yeah.
had little competitions. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so I believe she was using our online software that also comes with Smart Notebook. Do you recall that at all?
It
Yes.
could have been, yeah.
Okay, if you give me 1 second, I can totally pull that up and I'll show you what that looks like. So do you guys use Google?
Yes.
Okay, so I am just going to stop sharing for a second and I'm going to reshare here, so you should be able to see my Google Drive. All good?
Yep.
Okay, so what Kim was showing you is the other feature of our software besides our desktop version is our online version. So it's called Smart Learning Suite Online, and it's now integrated right through your Google Drive. So little background for you guys to get this. Once you're in that 45-day free trial or you purchase our software, you just go to the Google Marketplace and you download the Smart Learning Suite right here where my mouse says Smart Learning Suite app, and you can push it out to your staff. And so once you click on this, it's going to open up a wizard with some differing things that you can do. Oh gosh, my Wi-Fi has been working pretty good.
While this is updating, so we're going to install the client software on the teachers' computers to test this out. They type in their email address to get the code or whatever it was, the trial version. When they do that with their email address, does that authenticate them to this online environment as well?
Correct. Yep, because you are putting in that same email address as their right. They'd access their Google Drive.
Yep, and we'll need to go to the Google store or whatever to get that plug-in.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's a very easy thing, and we actually have a little flyer with the link of it if you need that. We could send that over to you as well. But this is what the wizard looks like here. And what Kim was probably doing is Kim was importing, so just very quickly, you can see you can add a YouTube video, you could start fresh with a new page. We have some of these activity templates. So we have 11 game-based learning activities that are all pre-created, and you can put your own content in them and play those. We also have more of an assessment tool, so where it's more kind of quiz-based, where you can create some different links of quizzes with different types of question banks. And then we also have these pre-made activities. So for example, if I'm starting class and I want to do maybe an entrance ticket, I could do an entrance ticket, right? So we have all of these, or didn't mean to skip over this one, but more like an exit ticket or any end of the class activities. So we have all these pre-made activities, but what Kim was probably showing you was the full-blown version of kind of importing content you've already created, whether it's notebook, PowerPoints, PDF, or anything in Google. So if I click on import here, I can either import those types of content, file contents from my Google Drive or from my device. So maybe I'll grab something from my drive, and maybe I just have a PDF in my drive here. So I'm going to select this, and then what she was doing is she was doing what's called a collaborative workspace. So she was splitting you guys into teams, and then you were able to interact inside of her lesson. And like you said, I know maybe, was it a competitive game or was it just an activity she was having you do?
We did both.
I think we did both, yeah.
Okay.
So we were given
I remember then. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we were given a link on our computer, like a 4-digit code, and that got us into this,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep. So that's exactly how it works. So what she was doing is here, I've got my lesson. I bet was it this slide?
Yep, we did that one.
Okay. I was trying to pull up, I think it was this lesson she was probably doing, but what she did is she did what's called convert to activity down here at the bottom, and she made this a collaborative workspace activity. So that means that you all are going to be split up in teams and you're going to be working on that activity together on your devices. If you were playing a game, maybe this rings a bell, you were probably playing our Monster Quiz game. Which is one of our game-based learning activities. Same idea, but it's a little bit more competitive. You're actually answering questions, and the quickest team to answer all of them correctly wins. So Monster Quiz and Team Quiz are kind of like that. in terms of being a little bit more competitive. So what you can do though is you can take all these pages in your lesson, and then if they're activities, you can convert them to either make them individual or collaborative. So maybe this one I want you all to do individually, but this other one I'm going to have you do collaboratively. And let's say my lesson is good. Other than that, I just wanted to convert those 2 slides. I hit finish, and then this is where, if you guys were my students here, I would have you go to hellosmart.com, and then here's that 5 or 6 digit code that you would type in to be able to see my whole lesson on your device and play through those slides.
Nice.
That ringing a bell?
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And obviously, we can go into this in more depth. I know we wanted to keep it to right around the half hour, so I can send you we have additional resources on this if you want to see it, or we can always connect you with Kim again to give you a more in-depth demo of just this portion. If you want to start with Notebook, and then when you're ready to go online, we could do more on this, kind of up to you guys. But this is a really great way to be cloud-based and integrate those student devices if you guys do have those.
Yeah, and I think we'll leave that up to them. We'll give them this
Sure.
video, and if they decide they want more content, then they can do that on their own.
Awesome, great. Well, I think that was it, unless there's anything specific you guys can think of that you want me to cover. I
No,
hope
that's
it was
good.
helpful. I appreciate your time on a Friday and being flexible with the week. I know you asked for yesterday, but I was a little busy traveling, so
Oh, that's all right. It worked out good.
awesome.
All right. So you'll send
Thank
me
you all for.
you'll send me a link to this video.
Yep, I will do that here. It takes a little bit after the recording they kind of put it in a file, but once they do that, I'll send it over.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, have a great weekend, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.